Racism is learned behavior. I often hear people tell me this with a bit of a smile on their face because they're thinking they love the phrase that if racism is learned, it can be unlearned. But that's not always the case. Some things we learn so early and they're repeated and embedded so often that they're there forever. Case in point, I know all the dative prepositions in German. I learned them when I was 10. I can assure you I have not lived in Germany, nor do I speak German. I just know them because I learned them early and they were reinforced very often with a ruler by my German teacher. We call this cognitive programming, and unfortunately, much of the ideas about the differences between men and women, gay people and straight people, certain faiths and others, black and white, Asian and white, etc., are embedded. So it's not just as simple as unlearning them, because I couldn't unlearn those dative prepositions in German. It would take a brain injury to get rid of that.
What to say to that? Honestly, what is there to say? The only reason that I played that video in full is because I was scrolling through Twitter. I occasionally go onto my Twitter account. As dormant as it may very well be, I'm still somewhat active behind the scenes. But I stumbled across one of my favourite boo-boos, Kojida Muhammad, and she retweeted the aforementioned video with her own little hot take, as brief as it was, by saying, in reference to the aforementioned video, "So true, John. We can't simply unlearn those behaviours that have been reinforced over and over again." Oh, what a beautiful hot take. That is very intellectual. Intellectual powerhouse, Kojida Muhammad. The reality of the matter is, the vast majority of what that guy just spoke about is just fucking waffle. I'd never even heard of what he was speaking about, admittedly. Maybe that's ignorance on my part, but just to show you what he's talking about, on the off chance somebody doesn't know what he was talking about, like myself. That's just what he's talking about. He's talking about words. Oh wow, what a hot take. Nonetheless, point being this though, Kojida Muhammad's point here, that there's behaviours that have been reinforced over and over again. Kojida Muhammad, of course, being a critical race theorist who sits on many a Scottish Government fucking panel, may I add, with the intention to reform our curriculum to be more critical race theory centric, shall we say. Point being, of course, here, that every single thing these people try to insinuate pertaining to racism being an inbuilt subconscious fucking thing is nonsense. Coming from a Scottish Highlander. Like, let me say this, is coming from a Scottish Highlander. Here she is again here. I love this one, and I'll come to this in a second, but coming from a Scottish Highlander, somebody who grew up in an exclusively white fucking school and primary school, a white high school, bar, give or take the odd BAME here or there, that every single school photo that was taken, class photo, which was a common thing, I don't know if it is wherever you are, but where it was here, you would get a photo of the entirety of your classroom. All of yous would sit down, the tallest at the back, the shortest at the front, you'd all sit down, every single one, it's all white. I never thought about race. Never had to think about race. Never thought about racism. Never gave BAMEs a second thought. Why? Because I didn't fucking have to. Then all of a sudden, as the country becomes more and more and more diverse, quote unquote diverse, aka less Scottish, all of a sudden, these are the sort of things that we start to become browbeaten over. Now we need to talk about anti-racism. Now we need to talk about inclusivity. Now we need to talk about diversity, etc, etc, etc. Is it not funny that wherever this plague starts to infest, all of a sudden they provide the remedies? Anyway, so this is another one here just before I finish this video. Thanks for sharing, Melina. Melina, of course, being the guru behind the critical race theory program that they masquerade as anti-racism, but building racial literacy program, open and close brackets. She says here, thanks for sharing. I've always been considered myself to be a troublemaker, as I disrupt the status quo around many issues to do with race and racism. This sounds much better. Officially a professional troublemaker. What's she responding to? Well, Melina's tweet that says below, will my silence make me proud? And Melina, of course, is quoting some fucking TED talk from a crackpot BAME. watching Lovey's video on being a professional troublemaker and everything is resonating with her educators in Scotland. Oh, yeah, troublemakers, yeah. You're not. It's remarkable. You're not a troublemaker. None of you are troublemakers. What you are is parasitical. What you are is malevolent. What you all are is completely and utterly disingenuous, deceptive. You're promoting critical race theory in our schools, targeting our children. Yet you sit on your fucking Twitter accounts, you sit at your wee conferences and with your circle jerk conferences and talk to no end about how oppressed you all are and what you're doing to stick it to the white man. You fucking clowns. You're absolute clowns.